Welcome to the Superconscious Success Podcast, where Jen and her Superconscious Success family co-hosts bring you valuable content each and every week on topics relating to manifestation, spirituality, and most of all, using your superconscious to manifest success in all areas of your life. Now on to today's episode.
Hey there, Superconscious Success fam. Just before we get into the interview, this is just a brief message. This is actually a recording of the 2021 Superconscious Success Summit interviews. If you do want to check out the introductory for all of the guests, then you can go across to our Superconscious Success YouTube channel where you'll be able to find all the introductions. These particular podcast interviews will be the interview only. Okay, thank you. Now let's get on to the interview. Hey there, Superconscious Success fam. Welcome back to another incredible interview on the Superconscious Success Super Summit. Today we're actually going to be talking to Sarah Bailey, and we're going to be talking about living your life on purpose, discovering what that purpose is in your life, and starting to put everything together to help you live that more fulfilled life. Now, if you have not yet watched Sarah's introductory video, head across to the Superconscious Success YouTube channel and you'll be able to see it there. But in the meantime, I'm really looking forward to this interview and to discovering a little more about purpose and how we may be able to discover ours. So hi Sarah, how are you going today?
Everything is wonderful. Thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to chatting to you too. It's been a couple of years that we've been in touch, and and I am so glad that it's all come into fruition, and we're doing this interview to discuss this very important topic of purpose, because purpose is something that, you know, we come onto this earth with a life purpose. We come onto this earth with the learning experiences that we are supposed to have, with our own mission, with our own goals. And so discovering what our purpose is so important, but so many of us are not yet sure of exactly how to do it. So can you tell us, Sarah, exactly what is purpose and why is it so important that we discover it?
Absolutely. So when I started looking into this, I was very literal about it, and I actually looked up in the dictionary, what is this purpose that is so elusive or that I'm searching for? And the actual definition is the reason for which anything is done, created, or exists.
Okay.
And I think that's so interesting because it's really, I mean, it really just gives a great answer. It's like the reason we're here, why we exist, why we were created, why something is done. And so it's so important to actually understand what we're searching for, what we're looking for, or what we're even talking about when you start a process like this. Because if you don't really grasp that, the reason we're here, that we exist, and then it can turn out to be more difficult. It's not easy. It's exciting, but sometimes it's not always easy. And the reason it's so important to understand that and to really try to get to this point, and it's a journey. I don't think you ever, we're constantly growing and changing and learning, and so I think that it's a lifelong journey for sure, but it's important so that we can live authentically, and in order to do that, we have to understand what we're for. We have to understand our values and our priorities, and honor them in the way that we live, and that is where we will be fulfilling our reason for existence and creation and what we're here to do. And that leads to feeling fulfilled. I think that's one thing that people, when they're searching for that purpose, or when they're really thinking about what is it all about, the first indication that they don't understand, or that they're searching for something, is this feeling of lack of fulfillment. There's something missing. There's something that is not here, that there's a vacancy almost. So
Yeah. And I think because we do go through our lives, we go out, we get that 9 to 5 job, we get that job to pay the bills, as we say. And the amount of people that I know that are like, oh, I'm just waiting for Friday because I just want Friday to come around because I'm so over this job. And that's a real good sign that you're not living your purpose. That's a real good sign that
absolutely.
that you need to dig deep and you need to figure out exactly what you were put here to do. And so I think that especially during these times of pandemic, during times of adversity where so many people have been let off from their jobs, I think it's important that you dig deep and you figure this out. And have you found that for your business that there's been a lot more people that have actually been trying to dig into their purpose during these times?
I think that the thing that has gotten people, kind of to pay attention is when the pandemic, when the shutdown started, we were living very full, overscheduled, go from A to B and B to C and C to D, and from all throughout your day, and then at whatever time at night you come home, you eat dinner, you sit on the couch, watch 10 minutes of TV, you go to bed. We had no room or space to think about these things, and the little times where like that feeling of something isn't right or there's something missing, the windows were small, few and far between. And so when we had the pandemic hit, and it was so hard, but then even being able to understand it and kind of reframe it, almost is a gift because it gave people space to recognize something. With all the tragedy and all of the difficulty, there was that bright spot that it's glaring when you're sitting at home and you're trying to figure out, you're not going to the movies, you're not going to the ballpark, you're not doing the regular things that you normally do. And then you say, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I don't know what I like to do. I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah. And I think that people, I think in that state of boredom, that state of quiet that we're not used to, because like you said, we are constantly on the go. We don't have that time to sit down, to connect with source and to go, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? What do I do now? I've been let off from my job. What am I supposed to be doing? It's really important that we have that quiet time. So when you're coaching people, is that something that you tell them about, that you recommend for them, is to really put aside some time for that quiet time so that they can hear this?
Absolutely. Generally, when I start a coaching relationship, I have a program called the Purpose Process, and it's designed to help write a purpose statement, which we can talk about a little bit later, because I think that's so important. Businesses have mission statements. Churches and other organizations have mission statements, but the people who are the heart and soul of these organizations a lot of times don't have something like that, and it can be daunting, for sure. And so and it depends on what time, in the course of our work, what priorities they have. But generally, a lot of people start there, because once we figure out, okay, what is the reason for which you exist? What is the reason for which you were created? What is the reason for which we are doing this? That answers a lot of questions. That gives you a direction to go in, and it also tells you what is for you and maybe what is not. And sometimes that's as important to understand what is not for you than the things that are.
Yeah, exactly. And I was talking before about the Coaching for Kids program and about allowing kids to discover what is right for them. And, especially as they near teenage years and they're trying different things and, they're figuring out what's right for them. And what we see as being their purpose is not necessarily what they see as being their purpose. And so being able to help them to discover that is really important. Now, one thing that I find people get confused with is their passions. And so what they'll say is oh, I'm really passionate about this, or I'm really passionate about this, but that can't be my purpose because I can't make a job out of that. I can't make money off of that. Do you find that sometimes people are a bit resistant to connect their passions to their purpose because they don't actually visualize being able to create a future with it?
Oh, absolutely. I think that, as the older we get, we have kind of a narrower, our definition narrows to what is an acceptable or appropriate job. And, when we're growing up, the world is our oyster, and then you maybe go to college or go to the military or get a trade, go to a training program. And then you start checking the boxes, which they think is a purpose. Your purpose is to get a job and to find somebody to spend your life with and that sort of thing. And those are all well and good to have those goals in your life. But that doesn't necessarily, fit in with your absolute purpose, what you're here for. And when people say, oh, I'm passionate about this, but there's just, I just do it for fun. Well, I'd like to go back and say, well, what about that makes you passionate about it? Or what about that is a gift of yours? And how can you use that in your everyday life or in your job or in your relationships? Because that brings your passion to your job. Maybe you can't make it your job or don't have the confidence, or maybe you need a different revenue stream or something like that. That's okay. But what about your passion can you do to bring it to every part of your life or other parts of your life?
Because
and people think, oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, because there's aspects of your passion that makes you so enthralled with it. And like athletes, they may have a passion for basketball. Well, they may not be going out and being in the NBA or NBL or whatever it is, but maybe you're passionate about teaching. Maybe you're passionate about coaching. Maybe
right.
it's about teaching discipline, or there's so many aspects that you like about that particular passion. And I believe in today's society that you can pretty much make a future out of anything. I have seen people that have done massively well on scrapbooking online, which is one of my passions. And I absolutely love it. It's sort of like brings out the creative side in me. So maybe what I love so much is the creativity. So you can find that in other ways. And now I use it for websites and I use it for other forms of creativity. And so I think that's probably is that one of the first steps you try to dig into when helping someone to discover their purpose?
Absolutely. One of the things, what gives you joy? What makes you laugh? What is fun? What sort of activities do you like to do? What are your interests? What makes you feel confident? Those things all are clues. It's in figuring out how to put them together. So much is based on just asking the right questions and being curious, and not limiting yourself. So many times people will say, oh, that's just silly. Oh, that's weird. I don't think that's just what I do for fun. Well, why is it fun? What about it is fun? And what are you good? What part of that are you good at? What makes you what makes you good at this?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I like, it's the creativity in scrapbooking, or the agility in athletics, or something like that. Well, there are so many things that you can get out of just asking, what is it about that you love, or that you're good at, or that makes you excited to go to your practice, or to the scrapbooking websites and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And because sometimes too, we don't actually see what our talents and our gifts and our skills are until you've actually dug deep and you can actually figure out, oh wow, I am actually good at that. Or, oh yeah, someone did tell me that was something that I was really good at. Because we have blinders on, and sometimes we are so hard on ourselves. And
Absolutely.
and I think that's probably something that you see a lot with your clients is that someone else can see something in you that you can't see in yourself.
Yes, it's so true. And one of the activities that we do in the purpose process, it's funny you say that, is and to even illustrate this, I say, okay, tell me your partner, or your parent, or your child, somebody that you really admire. Tell me 3 things that you like about them. And they're going, blah, 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 10 things. I could tell you 100 things. And then I said, that's awesome. That's great. Now tell me 3 things about yourself.
Yeah, and then there's
Quiet.
like crickets.
Silence. Yes. And so then I encourage them to go and ask 3 to 5 people. Say, you're going to think that this is the craziest thing, but text 3 to 5 people and say, give me 3 words that you would use to describe me. And it feels comfortable. And they're like, no, who am I going to ask? What am I going to say? That's so weird. And they will get really earnest answers. Like, people want to, like, if we don't ask. Now, nobody wants you to be sitting around saying, I'm so good at sports. Oh my gosh, I'm so good at sports. Or I can sing. I'm so good at singing. You should hear me sing. Like, we just don't do that. We're not sitting around thinking about how glorious we are. We've got families, we've got jobs, we've got things to do. And then, it's a little weird, but that's not the kind of thinking about yourself that we're talking about. It's like, what am I good at? What do people compliment me on?
Yeah.
What are the things that come naturally to me? And like I said earlier, sometimes the things that come naturally to us, we don't even understand that we're good at them.
No.
Because we think it's easy for everyone.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's not, it's so interesting.
Yeah, it is, because the thing is that we could just know one little bit more than what somebody else does, and it's enough to be able to inspire them to make a change. And
absolutely,
like you said, we go through life and we just do things naturally because we've been doing it for so long. And I actually work a couple of days a week with my husband. He's a scientist, and so I work a couple of days a week in the labs and doing experiments and all that sort of stuff. And he's been doing it for so long that it's like second nature to him. And so when I first started and he was teaching me the new techniques and the new skills and that sort of thing, he had to keep reminding himself that it was not natural for me. It was something that I had to learn. And he's very good at teaching things, but because he's done it for so long, he doesn't even recognize it as being a skill of his. So
he doesn't remember what it was like not to know how to do it.
No,
absolutely.
That's right. And so he has to keep reminding himself, and the same with the other people that he brings on board. It's like, okay, they're starting from here. They know these skills, these techniques. And so now I've got to get myself back to that point where I was the person that was learning it. And how would what would I want to know if that was the situation? So, and that's what happens sometimes. We forget because we've been doing it for so long.
Yes. Muscle memory and just, being in that environment so long. That's so true. Yeah. Very true. So.
Absolutely. Now, what are some questions? There's some questions that we can ask ourselves in order to help us discover our purpose. And we've gone over some about what's our unique talents, what's our unique gifts, what are we passionate about? Are there some other key questions that we should be asking ourselves to help us to discover that purpose?
Absolutely. And, I think back to how I developed this because I was an English major in college. And so I wrote a lot of papers. And so the reason I came up with the questions and kind of the prompts is because I've written hundreds of pages of research papers and things like that for years and years and years. But when I tried to write down my purpose statement, that blank page was very daunting. It's intimidating, and I'm trying to write my purpose, my reason for existence on this paper. It's very intimidating. And so I had to come up with, how I was going to answer, or how I was going to even start thinking about it. And so I really went back to, how did I start writing a paper? And it was who, what, when, where, why, and how is the essentially how I started out, and I developed the questions from there. So the first thing is, what are your gifts, traits, and talents? Okay, so who are you in this world? There are 7.6 billion people on this planet, give or take a few, and we are all very different and unique. Now, we have similarities in different traits and talents that are similar to people, but the way that we're made up with our unique combination of gifts, traits, and talents are what makes us who we are. So who are we? What are our gifts, traits, and talents? So what are our gifts, traits, and talents? How do you figure that out? What comes naturally to you? What have people complimented you about? When do you feel most confident? That is a question that sometimes we don't think about, because when we feel most confident, we're doing something that is in our DNA. It's just, it's there, it's flow, it's easy, it's exciting, it's fun. And I'm not talking arrogance. I'm talking about feeling comfortable in your own skin. When do you feel that? Right? And so when you understand who you are, what you're good at, those gifts, traits, and talents, where you want to be in your life, and that could be a physical location, it could be where do you see yourself, like, do you see yourself as an entrepreneur, or these sorts of things. So it's not just the literal who, what, when, where, how, and why. It's really just letting yourself go into the depths of those questions. When do you feel most yourself? When you were a kid, what was your favorite thing to do? Asking your friends or family members to give you these different adjectives to describe you. And then taking the time to really think about it. And then I'm obsessed with sticky notes. I am like, I love Post-it notes, sticky notes. And so I just, you have to live with it. Now, you don't have to use sticky notes. You could write it down on a flip chart or in a journal or those things. But when you start writing these words, things start coming back. You start seeing them again and again. They resonate, they come back. Two people will say the same thing about you. You'll remember something in childhood about something that connects with what other people said about you. And then you start seeing this common theme, because we can't hide it. You are who you are, and those things are through and through. We can change and have different behaviors, but the essence of us, the reason that we were created, is for a certain thing. And we all have something very specific. And if we don't do it, or if we don't figure it out, nobody else can. No one else can, because nobody else has the specific makeup as each one of us. So there's our perspective and our experience and our unique makeup. If we do not, it is our job to find this out so that we can give to this world. what only we can. And so by living and breathing these questions and words and thinking about them and really just immersing yourself and taking the time in silence. Matthew Kelly is an author that I've read, and he's actually a coach as well. And he wrote a book and was talking about the classroom of silence. How important it is to spend time in the classroom of silence, because, you know, if you fill your time in your brain and your day and your house and your car and every aspect of your life just full, there's no space for anything else.
And that's why I find meditation is so important, just for that clarity side of it. And it wasn't until I actually started really delving spiritually into my purpose that I discovered it, because you know, you need that quiet, you need that space to be able to have all of these answers coming to you.
Absolutely. And sometimes the chatter is from within. You know, sometimes that's the hardest chatter to release. Is, no, that's silly. Oh, why are you thinking about that? That's just, you know, that's just for fun, you know, that sort of thing. And we can be our own worst critics, I think, sometimes. And so by really taking the time, and meditation is really a great way to kind of evacuate, you know, clear your mind. And there are great guided meditations for people who say, oh, I can't do that, or that's hard for me, it's uncomfortable, I can't get my mind to stop. There are so many different ways that people are sharing ways to really have that experience now. It's so, you know, people are really understanding the benefits, health, emotional, mental. There's so many benefits to, you know, having that moment, the silence and the clarity and the breathing that can really make such a difference in all of our lives, especially on finding purpose.
Yeah, totally. That's when you really start to hear those answers. And, you know, when we talk about silence, you'd hear my dog in the background. He's going nuts. He must have just arrived. But this is one of the joys of working from home, because you have the ability to hear all these wonderful sound effects. But
absolutely. Hey, the sounds of life. That's all it
that's
is.
it. So when we talk about work-life balance, and we talk about quiet, and, you know, everybody's at home with each other at the moment because of COVID, and we're all trying to work with each other's schedules. How do we maintain that work-life balance, especially as a parent that's trying to sort of like keep their kids from killing each other, and all of that? How do we maintain?
Have you heard our house? Have you heard us? All the way over there in Australia.
Because I know that working from home, you know, in a home office, can sometimes there doesn't seem to be that separation between work and life. And especially once you do discover your purpose, and I'm going to say danger signal here, we get so passionate about our purpose that sometimes we forget that we still need that quiet time. We still need that time for us. And so how do you maintain that work-life balance?
That is such a great question. And it's, I mean, if I've had that question once, I have had it a million times for that reason, especially now during the pandemic. I mean, life has changed significantly, but, you know, one of the biggest things I found even before pre-pandemic was understanding our values. Our personal values is just as important in your purpose and finding balance in your life than just having an understanding of them, just to know them. It's really important, because if we don't name them and if we don't keep them in, you know, the front of our mind, those choices that we make are hard, they're not necessarily going to be congruent with what really is important to us. And it is difficult when you're so passionate about what you do and changing the world and all the exciting things there are to do, understanding that that is a piece of your puzzle.
Yeah.
That is a piece
That's
of your
not all
purpose
good.
and a piece of who you are. Because what happens is when it gets out of balance, then there's the guilt.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't spent a lot of time with my kids today. Today is a Tuesday, and Tuesdays is a busy day for me. So, my kids, I teach classes, I have clients, it's just a long day for me. And so my kids often say, oh, I haven't seen you all day. And I feel like, oh, I know. But then I make concessions on different days. Like I make priorities. So it may be scheduling. It may be saying Friday is family game night, or it may be turn on do not disturb on your emails. We're in a digital world and we are so connected that I'll get emails from people at 3:00 in the morning. I don't wake up, I don't hear them, but then the next morning I'm checking my emails and I said, oh my goodness, that person were they just awake or were they worried?
Yeah.
That is so much sleep is a value. Like health is important, and that's so hard in this digital 24/7 world that we're living in. And having a home office, and you don't leave work and go home, you can always sneak back in there. And I just want to do one more thing. It's really just making those values a priority, and
figure out what's important.
Easier said than done. Easier said than done.
It is, and I
but
think,
as much
go for it.
As much as the digital world is helpful, it can also lead to an imbalance. But we can also use the settings on that technology to keep us in check. Do not disturb, or reminders, like set yourself a reminder, like at 5:00, it's 5:00, it's time for home time, scheduling family time, that sort of thing. So.
Excellent, fantastic, and I think that that's something that that the Superconscious Success Fam will begin to hopefully put into practice, and recognize that even though you've discovered your purpose and you know exactly what you're put here for, it is a process, and it's something that can take a little while to figure out. It's we're put on this earth for a purpose, and once you discover that, it is amazing, because you go with the flow. Once you're actually working alongside Source, and you're getting all the downloads and you're getting all the amazing ideas, life starts to flow. It's not about resistance anymore, and
absolutely.
And so it's a place of pure joy, and that's what we want to live in, is pure joy. With our bits of learning experiences and adversities chucked in there as well.
Well, and that just builds resistance and helps us to really take 2 years to make this come to fruition, without those challenges and the resilience and that passion, we wouldn't be here today talking. It could have easily fallen away, but it is not, because it is part of purpose and that connection with the people that are in the summit. I mean, it's just amazing how many amazing people are so dedicated to putting this out there. So,
I am so blessed to have all these new friends that I've made on the summit, and all these amazing speakers that have dedicated their time and their energy to putting this message out to people. And, my purpose, when I discovered my purpose as being one of connection, that's what I was put here for, was to help people not only connect with other people and to help expand the consciousness of our planet, but also to connect people with their higher selves, so that they may live life of flow and ease, because that is what That is what we are designed to be doing. And I find that we are pushing resistance so frequently because we have not figured out our purpose, which is why you go and see someone like Sarah who will help you to do that, because Sarah's got all the techniques and the right questions you can ask yourself, and you know, the tools that you need to be able to really dig deep. If you haven't yet been able to do that, then start off by taking that quiet time. Start off
Yes.
by digging deep within, and as Sarah said, answer those simple questions. What are your passions? What are you good at? What are your unique skills and talents? And then the answers will start to pop up. And I love the go and ask 3 to 5 people what the 3 words that they think about you, or because I have actually done that myself, and
it feels vulnerable.
It does.
It does.
It's scary because you're afraid that people are going to think that you're full of yourself, or but it's also very rewarding, because when people come back and they talk about your different unique skills that you never thought of, then it is rewarding, and it can make you feel good about yourself too. So
absolutely. And sometimes those things are in the back of our mind and in our head, and we say, it's just hard for us to acknowledge or say it out loud. And when somebody says it to us, it gives us permission.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just need a little extra push to say, it's okay. This is true. It's true. It's not
because it's not just me that's
wishful thinking, or exactly. And that's what we're looking for, is what is true to us. Yeah. And that gives us a really good start on finding out what that purpose is.
Fantastic. Well, Sarah, we have gone through a lot of very valuable information here. Information that's going to allow people to start to discover their purpose and start to figure out exactly what they can do moving forward. If you have been going through a difficult time during COVID, recognize that it is not the end. There is so much out there for you, and the universe puts things in front of us that will often amp it up so that we can make a change in our life. And this is your opportunity. It's your opportunity to discover that purpose and to make changes, small or big, to help move you towards that. So thank you so much, Sarah, for being here with me today. Now, is there anything else that you would like to leave our listeners with? Any parting words, or any links, or anything else you'd like to say?
Well, first off, any progress you make on finding your purpose is closer than you were before you started. So big or small, it could take a day, it could take a month, it could take a year, no matter what. Just any progress that you make is going to bring you closer to you than you were. And that will just give you so much joy and fulfillment in your life when you're on that journey. So I can't express enough how I am rooting for all of you, and how wonderful it is to be able to share this with you all. And thank you so much for having me here today and getting to talk about my passion and my purpose.
Yeah.
So, you can learn more about the purpose process or coaching or what I do at sarahbaileylifecoach.com. And I would love to hear questions, or just email me about what people are working on and finding out. And I'd love to hear the stories. Yeah. It's so exciting to hear when people make even small or large breakthroughs, just those little steps or the giant leaps towards finding the truth and finding their purpose. It just makes it's so exciting, because their joy is so contagious. Their excitement and awe, it's contagious, and it's so wonderful. So I'd love to hear from everyone and anyone about their journey and what they're up to. And I hope that I can't wait for the summit. It's going to be such an exciting time. So I hope that everyone enjoys it.
Yeah, and